From ABC News, this is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer.
And tonight, some of America's new fighting planes are sitting on the tarmac, and some of the nation's precision pilots don't want to fly them. The claim, a mysterious flaw could make you lose consciousness in the cockpit. And ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross looks into the F-22.
It is the single most expensive fighter jet ever built. Almost $500 million each.
Incredibly capable, incredibly lethal.
But the truth about the F-22 is it has never flown in combat, because it was built to fight an advanced Soviet jet fighter that doesn't exist.
This aspect of our national security has been an abysmal failure.
And worse, the F-22 has a potentially fatal flaw in the oxygen system that could cause its pilots to black out. The Air Force admitted this week some pilots are now asking not to fly the F-22 because the problem remains unfixed.
If I knew what the problem was, it would be gone. I just have not found the problem yet.
2 years ago, Captain Jeffrey Haney was killed when his oxygen was cut off and his F-22 crashed in Alaska. But to the outrage of his family, the Air Force blamed him, not its expensive aircraft.
He gave his life, and he just deserves the truth.
This computer simulation prepared by the Air Force shows what happened to Captain Haney.
The beeps going off are telling the pilot something's going wrong with the airplane.
Former Marine pilot Steve Ganyard, an ABC News consultant, says the instruments seem to show that Haney blacked out for at least 15 seconds and regained consciousness too late to save the plane. The F-22 has meant huge profits for the Lockheed Martin Company. And in a ceremony today, the final of some 187 F-22s was turned over to the Air Force.
We complete the nation's F-22 fifth generation fighter fleet.
But for now, however, the F-22's most prominent use seems to be to perform tricks in air shows. In effect, a $500 million stunt plane. The entire fleet was grounded last year for 5 months, and they still could not fix the oxygen system problem. And as you'll see tonight in our further report on Nightline, the Air Force says it has added new safety features for its pilots in a plane that its critics call, Diane, both a turkey and a lemon.
And they're flying those air shows at a lower altitude.
Where they have plenty of oxygen.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
And killer jets? It's dangerous, it's powerful, and it's the most expensive U.S. fighter ever. But does the plane the Air Force spent billions of your money to build have a fatal flaw that killed this young pilot? An exclusive investigation.
From the global resources of ABC News, with Terry Moran, Cynthia McFadden, and Bill Weir in New York City. This is Nightline, May 2nd, 2012.
It's an incredible investigation with a tragic twist. An Air Force pilot at the top of his game dies in a stunning crash, and his fighter jet could be to blame because of what may be a fatal flaw. ABC's Brian Ross investigates.
It is the F-22, nicknamed the Raptor.
Incredibly capable, incredibly lethal.
In the promotional videos, complete with stirring music, its manufacturer, Lockheed Martin, uses every production trick in the book to make the F-22 look like $420 million well spent.
I think it's going to change warfare completely from an aerial perspective.
But the truth about the F-22 is much different. It has never been flown in a combat mission and has a potentially fatal flaw in the oxygen system that could cause its pilots to black out. Captain Jeff Haney was killed after he lost oxygen and his F-22 crashed in Alaska. But to the outrage of his family, the Air Force blamed him, not its $500 million aircraft.
It tarnishes Jeff's name. Jeff was an awesome pilot and an even better man. I am so proud to call him my brother. And he gave his life. He just deserves the truth.
This computer simulation, prepared by the Air Force, shows what happened to Captain Haney.
The beeps going off are telling the pilot something's going wrong with the airplane.
Former Marine fighter pilot Steve Ganyard, an ABC News consultant, took us through it.
So 4 seconds after that comes up on the screen, he is no longer getting any oxygen through his mask, and it's probably getting the feeling that he's suffocating.
The Air Force maintains that Captain Haney was conscious throughout the dive and failed to make the right moves to save the plane. But Ganyard says that's hard to believe.
And he wasn't touching any of the controls and just continuing to go at the ground at almost 700-800 miles an hour.
Did he come close to making it?
Not close enough.
The Air Force paid tribute to Captain Haney at his funeral with this flyover. But the family is now suing Lockheed, saying Haney is being blamed for something that was not his fault in order to protect the reputation of the F-22.
To them, Jeff was a number, it feels like sometimes. But those jets are worth a lot of money.
The entire fleet of F-22s was grounded for 5 months last year after at least 14 reports of pilots losing oxygen. But even after the planes were put back in the air, the problem persisted, with another 11 reports of oxygen problems. Air Force General Mike Hostage admitted this week that some pilots are now asking not to fly the F-22 because of the still unidentified safety issue.
If I knew what the problem was, it would be gone. I just have not found the problem yet.
The F-22 has meant huge profits for the Lockheed Martin Company, and in an elaborate ceremony today at the corporate headquarters, the final of some 187 F-22s was turned over to the Air Force.
The delivery represents an important element in our overall modernization effort.
But its many prominent critics say even if the oxygen flaw is fixed, the plane is still an incredible waste of taxpayer dollars.
Facts are stubborn things. The F-22 has not flown a combat mission in Afghanistan or Iraq, nor are they contemplated to do so.
Senator John McCain, a former combat pilot himself, says the plane was designed to fight a next-generation Soviet jet that was never built and has little use now against the enemies America is fighting.
There is no purpose unless you believe that al-Qaeda is going to have a fleet of aircraft.
And at a cost of $49,000 an hour to operate, with a record of being in maintenance 1 day out of 5, its critics say the Air Force can't even afford to give its pilots enough hours in the air to properly train.
It's so complicated. It's in the maintenance shop all the time. They're lucky if they can fly it every other day because it's so complicated.
Is the F-22 a plane that was badly designed or just badly produced?
Both.
For now, the F-22, supposedly the future of America's jet fighter fleet, remains a $500 million aircraft that isn't being used in combat and which some pilots are asking not to fly. And what do they do with those airplanes now, do you think?
There are a lot of air shows around the country that I'm sure that would appreciate flybys.
And Senator McCain wasn't joking. That's just where we found the F-22s, performing tricks to dazzle audiences at air shows across the country. A very expensive stunt plane. The Air Force says some of the F-22s have now been deployed to the Middle East as a show of force to Iran. And it has added new safety features for its pilots while it tries to figure out what's wrong with the oxygen system in this expensive aircraft. Cynthia?
Our thanks to you, Brian.